My name is Denise Miller, and I'm with the Canadian Mental Health Association of New Brunswick, and want to thank you very, very much for joining us this evening for a little chat on self-esteem in children. My coworker Natalie is on here with us, and she's going to be keeping an eye on the chat. So if there's any questions, you can put them in there, or you can put them in the Q&A, and we'll address them as towards the end of the presentation. It'll make it a little easier. And if it's all right with you, we'll go ahead and get started. Just going to get my cursor down here. Okay, so we were founded, CMHA as a national body was founded in 1918, makes us just over 100 years old. And we're a national charity that helps to maintain and improve mental health for all Canadians. And as a province-wide leader and champion for mental health, CMHA of New Brunswick helps people access the community resources they need to build their resilience and support them in recovery from mental illness. Last year, we reached over 85,000 people. Well, I guess that'd be the year before. We just flipped years. So back in 2019, we reached over 85,000 New Brunswickers through services and programs and everything that we offer. So that continually grows every year, and it's very exciting to see more New Brunswickers joining us all the time, just to be able to learn more information. So CMHA of New Brunswick has 18 locations provincially. So we have 3 main offices in Fredericton, Moncton, St. John. Our Fredericton office is our provincial office. And then CPCs hold the other positions in the province other than the employment program. So we have a CPC program, the Community Program Coordinator Program, which I'm part of. We're 11 of us in the province, so we're offices, and we are more we cover the rural areas of the province. We also have a provincial peer support program, and they're there to help individuals with lived experience in mental illness. This is to instill hope and inspire others going through similar circumstances that recovery is possible. And then, of course, our employment program, which is called Working Stronger Together. It's based in Charlotte County, and they're there to assist people in completing resumes and cover letters, interview techniques, and do all kinds of training with them, train them on the job. But they help people with mental illness either get work or return to work. So it's one or the other. So why is self-esteem so important? Well, we hear about self-esteem constantly. We hear about how a child's well-being is important because high self-esteem has an impact on just about every aspect of our lives. Our learning, our relationships, our health, our career, and our overall life satisfaction. So people with positive self-esteem tend to have happier and more productive lives. I'm trying to find my mouse again. All right. So where does self-esteem come from? Well, in infancy, a child's self-esteem begins to develop through her parents' nurturing. The affection and care parents give them tells the baby you are lovable and important just because you are you. Your unconditional love provides the foundation for your child's self-esteem. But self-esteem not only comes from there, it comes from what we can do and how we live our lives. That's why you can't give children high self-esteem just by saying things like there's nobody else exactly like you or you're special. Building self-esteem is not as simple as that. As children become more independent and move out into the world, feedback from others and a sense of competence is increasingly important to their self-esteem. So where does a sense of competence come from? Most people, it comes from 3 areas. People. Most of us live, work, and play in groups. So being able to deal with people effectively getting along, feeling accepted, enjoying good relationships and friendships. These are important human skills. Our character. Character, all the positive values and qualities that we adopt, such as kindness, integrity, honesty, they can also become an enduring source of self-esteem. These qualities allow us to feel like a good person. Our skills, abilities, and accomplishments, well, we all need to become good at learning tasks necessary to have a productive and happy life, such as looking after ourselves, knowing about our world, being good at our jobs, and having skills such as athleticism, musical, or artistic. So, self-esteem in children. As children grow up, their self-esteem is in a constant state of development. It can vary from one age to another, or a situation to the next. And the important issues change and evolve as a child gets older. So a child's self-esteem isn't a single thing that he either has or doesn't have. It may be up one day on the basketball court and down the next day in science class. They may be strong in self-esteem at the age of 9 or 10, but not so strong in the early teen years. This can be a struggle for parents at times. Watching their children's self-esteem can go up and down and not knowing the very best way to nurture it. So, developmental stages. Well, a parent's role in fostering good self-esteem changes as children go through various stages of development. So, as babies, it's fairly simple. Self-esteem is all about trust and unconditional love. As a newborn, they don't have a sense of who they are. They learn about themselves from us, the parents, through our interactions with them. As a young child, they'll continue to depend on the feedback of parents for their sense of self-worth. The toddler believes he is the center of the universe, as every milestone they achieve is a wonder to mom and dad. They believe themselves to be someone worthwhile. As children grow into toddlers and preschoolers, we still love them unconditionally, but we expect more of them. We expect them to learn new skills and to begin to behave in certain ways. When they do, we show our approval. And when they don't, we may show our disapproval. They learn that some of the esteem that mom and dad have for them is earned. As a school-age child, they are exposed to a much larger world. There are expectations on them, such as learning new skills, behaving in certain ways. Also, they now face being evaluated by a teacher and the other children around them. They start to compare themselves to other children and evaluate themselves. At school age, they now see that mom and dad's opinion is not the only thing that matters anymore. So this is when self-esteem and our role in it becomes more complex. We need to help our children begin to develop an inner self-esteem that will help them to deal with criticisms, failures, and disappointments, as well as successes and approval. So, does my child have low self-esteem? There's no quick and easy way to tell whether or not your child has self-esteem that is low enough to be a problem. However, there are a few things to think about. Don't jump to catastrophic conclusions. Remember that self-esteem fluctuates throughout childhood and can temporarily dip when children move into a new developmental phase or a new situation. Transitions can be difficult for children. Is it a global problem or a situational one? If a child's problem seems to be in one area, like school, it may be worth investigating to see if there's a specific problem that could be resolved. If the problem seems to be in a particular activity, then consider taking the child out of that activity. Note situations where your child feels good about herself. Make sure she gets many chances to be in those situations. Remember that your positive relationship with your child is more important than ever right now. Be patient and have courage. Children are more resilient than we sometimes think, and good self-esteem is built up gradually, not quickly. And don't be afraid to seek help if the situation persists or gets worse. If you're wrong and things are fine, then you relax. But if your child truly needs help, you know that you've done the right thing. So, where do parents fit in? Parents play a very important role as their children develop self-esteem, and we should realize that parents cannot control all the factors that influence self-esteem. So the following are some good tools for building children's self-esteem. We can show them that we always love, value, and respect them as people, even when we do not always approve of their behavior. I always made a point of saying, I have two sons, and I would always say, I love you, but your behavior is what I don't like right now. Or, I'm struggling with your behavior. I would make sure to identify that it was the behavior. You always have my love, my unconditional love, but sometimes your behavior, is not exactly where it should be or what it should be. So we can communicate with them respectfully and positively. We can work to maintain a close relationship with them as they grow older. We can treat each of our children as individuals and avoid comparing them to each other. We can encourage them to improve their skills and develop new ones. We can teach them to value effort and learning, how to solve problems, how to deal with frustration without hurting themselves or others. We can teach them to learn from their mistakes. We can communicate and model the importance of values like kindness, helping others, and making a contribution. We can give them age-appropriate responsibilities and opportunities to make their own decisions, so they can see how their own choices and efforts can make a difference. We can show them by example how adults with healthy self-esteems act. So, communication skills for fostering self-esteem. Well, positive communication is much more than just telling our children that we love them or that we think that they're great. It's what we do as well as what we say, how we spend time together, how we discipline, how we support our kids in good times and bad. All of these have an effect on our self-esteem. Staying connected. Staying connected. The dependence that our babies and toddlers have on us is a built-in way to foster a close relationship. As they start spending more time away from us, such as at school or with friends, it may seem that we are less important to them and that it will take a conscious effort to maintain that connection. The parent and child relationship is still the anchor that secures a child's self-esteem. Staying connected helps us be aware of our children's feelings, and understanding how children feel about themselves is central and key to their self-esteem. It's important to look for little ways to stay in touch at key points during the day, perhaps eating a meal together, driving them to their activity, and bedtime is a great starting place. We need to remember that our children as they are right now. Some kids are more challenging to raise than others, and all kids have stages where they're more difficult to get along with. Finding ways to simply enjoy each other's company is even more important when you're experiencing a lot of parent-child conflict or frustration. Helpful feedback. Parents give their children lots of feedback, advice, instruction, praise, and criticism. Feedback can help youngsters see what they're good at and also how to improve. However, some kinds of praise and criticism are more helpful than others to children's self-esteem. Consider this comment. You were such a good boy at the store. I love you. It's nice to tell our children that we love them, but we don't want to give the message that we love them only because of the good things they do. They need to know that we love them always. And while it's important to notice and appreciate our children's positive actions, Good boy doesn't really tell a child much. When we give more specific feedback, it helps children to recognize, value, and develop their own admirable qualities, such as, Marla, I saw what happened in the front yard with those girls, with the girls that were calling Kaylee names. I was really proud of the way that you told them to leave her alone, and they stopped. If you had not done that, Kaylee would have felt even worse. It's not easy to stand up to other kids like that to help your friend. It takes courage. I admire that. So Marla in this situation knew exactly what she was being praised for. It wasn't just a blown up or not that it was made up, but just kind of this open concept of praise. Um, it was very specific, and you stood up for your friend, and you stood up for yourself, and all these different parts come into play, and that's what I admire. So dealing with frustration, when we see our children frustrated and upset, we get frustrated ourselves, and we want to fix things as quickly as possible. It's like we want to talk them out of the bad feeling, but that can backfire. We end up mad at them for feeling bad, and they feel worse because we're mad at them. What children need to learn is that frustration is a normal part of learning, and that we can help them to deal with it. We can't take away all their obstacles, nor should we, as learning how to overcome obstacles is very important to the development of self-esteem. We can help them by showing that we understand and accept how they feel, that we know that they will feel better later, even if they don't see it, that we are there to help when they're ready to talk about how to overcome their problem, and that we believe that they will eventually be able to overcome their problem. Helping children with self-evaluation. As children reach school age and begin to evaluate themselves, sometimes they can be a little hard on themselves. They assess against the other children around them. For example, they may make a sweeping negative conclusion about themselves when the real issue is a specific problem that we can help them to identify and resolve. When a child declares, I'm no good at math, it seldom helps to contradict him. But if you can help him make a more realistic assessment of both his trouble areas and his strengths, it may turn an overwhelming problem into something more manageable. You're the model. It's not only what we say to our children that matters. How we act is very important. Our children learn a lot by watching how we deal with our own self-esteem issues. So try to avoid making sweeping negative statements about yourself when you're upset, like, how could I be so stupid? Instead, talk about how you feel, and if possible, convey the idea that you know that feeling bad is temporary. It was awful losing my car keys today. I had to wait an hour for someone to open the car. I'm sure glad it's over now. When you encounter an obstacle, let your child see how you plan to overcome it. I guess I'd better go down to the hardware store to get some new keys made. And I'm going to keep an extra key in my wallet from now on so I don't get locked out again. When you do something well, tell your child how you feel about it. Man, that painting was a lot of work. The new color looks great though, doesn't it? Be mindful of how you treat your spouse or partner and other family members and friends, and demonstrate respect for their self-esteem. Apologize when you're wrong. There's a saying from an old movie, love means never having to say you're sorry. That's about as wrong can be. A person with good self-esteem will own up to his mistakes and apologize when appropriate. Our children need to see us doing this. Discipline and self-esteem. Parents sometimes worry that discipline will damage their children's self-esteem. But when children are disciplined, they often get very upset. Because we associate self-esteem with feeling happy and discipline with feeling unhappy, it may seem like their self-esteem is suffering. But positive discipline teaches children how to behave appropriately and ethically. Skills and values that will contribute to their sense of self-worth. It doesn't hurt kids to feel bad temporarily about a task or a consequence. However, if discipline is very harsh and insults children's human dignity, then it can be damaging to their self-esteem. Remember that nobody's perfect. Are you starting to get the feeling that every time you open your mouth, your child's self-esteem hangs in the balance? That's not true. Everyone blows it sometimes. We get angry, we get frustrated, or we're tired. We say something judgmental or even nasty. Fortunately, little human beings are pretty resilient. They can withstand some mistakes along the way. So if your communication with your child is positive, respectful, and encouraging, most of the time, chances are you are giving him a strong foundation for a lifetime of good self-esteem. So, your child in the world. Parents are not the only influence on how children feel about themselves. Friends. Friends are important to everyone. Children want to know that they can make friends, be a friend, and that other children like them. When children find it hard to make friends, or when they have trouble getting along with their friends, their self-esteem can suffer. Friendship difficulties can happen for different reasons. The shy child. One reason children have trouble making friends is shyness. They are not joiners and they feel anxious in school situations, which understandably make it harder to make friends. Is shyness related to low self-esteem? It can be, but shy children can also feel just fine about themselves, especially if their quieter style is accepted by parents and teachers, and that they have one or two good friends. How can you help? Don't remind shy kids that they're shy. They already know that. Accept your child's shyness. Shyness is largely a temperamental trait. In other words, some people are born that way. Help behind the scenes. Shy kids may need extra help to set up play dates and other get-togethers with friends. For example, your child might feel more confident about inviting a new friend over if you help her plan something to do, like a rented video or an outing. Look for an organized group activity like Cubs or a computer club, brownies, Girl Guides. Some shy children are more comfortable in a structured social situation. Understand that your child may find a lot of satisfaction from solitary activities. He may not want or need as much time with friends as his outgoing sister. Other barriers to friendship. Some children have trouble socially because of the way they behave. Children who are aggressive or who have difficulty sharing or playing fair often don't understand how their behavior makes it hard for other children to like them. These children need to learn better social skills, but that kind of learning takes place gradually. Structured recreational activities can be helpful because they offer supervised social situations. Parents and teachers can also help the children to see the other child's point of view. How do you think Johnny felt when you pushed him? So when children have trouble making friends for any reason, their connection to us becomes so much more important. It shows them that there's at least one place where they're wanted and where they can feel like they belong. The trouble with friends, as much as we might like to pick the best, most appealing friends for our children, we can't control who they like or who likes them. Remember too that they are all just kids, subject to the same imperfections and growing pains as our own children. Don't judge them too harshly. We do need to step in and protect our children if they're being bullied or harassed, But there are many day-to-day ups and downs that children need to work out for themselves. Sometimes the best thing we can do is to listen without judgment and empathize with their feelings. Kids and stress. We often think of stress as something negative, and it can be. However, stress is a normal part of life, and manageable stress can be a positive motivator. When a child does well at sports or enjoys watching a suspenseful movie, part of what makes the experience rewarding is the stress that's involved. Activities. Outside activities like sports, lessons, recreational clubs give children a chance to make new friends, learn new skills, and have some fun. All of these are very good for their self-esteem. Activities and lessons can sometimes help a child find that one thing he can be good at or passionate about. The success he has in an outside activity he enjoys may help him gain confidence in tackling a school project, and should also teach him some lessons about the value of hard work, practice, and self-discipline. A word of caution: it's tempting to think that if something is good, then more of it is better. That's not always true. These days, some children's lives are so programmed and scheduled that they don't have time to relax and just be kids. All children need plenty of time for free choice and unstructured play. Now, this would have been true before COVID, but with COVID now, we're certainly leading more quieter lives. We're more settled. We're at home a lot more often. There's more downtime and more family time available, which is great. Extended family. Parental love is number one with children, but the love and attention of caring adults like grandparents, aunts, and uncles can be very important too. It's a little bit like self-esteem pool. If a few more people are helping to fill your child's pool, so much so much in the better. Other adults like coaches, teachers, camp counselors, everybody, all of us can help boost a child's self-esteem. Life's highs and lows. We know that building self-esteem is a long-term process and does not depend on single incidents. However, certain events tend to stand out because, temporarily at least, they have a very noticeable effect on a child's feelings of accomplishment and self-respect. Things like winning a competition or failing a grade in school. It's wise to not make too big of a deal of these events, whether positive or negative. At the same time, let's not become too upset when something goes wrong or our child fails. Our children depend on our hopeful leadership. We need to show them that this is not the end of the world, that life does go on, and that we all still believe in them. So, self-esteem in school. That's a big one now because kids aren't in school. Hopefully, we're going to get them back there. And then, of course, some are in school, and the older ones are there part-time, and then the younger ones, I believe, are there full-time. So, yeah, so what's going on there right now? So school is a big part of a child's life. You might say that the relationship between school and self-esteem is a two-way street. Success at school, both academic and social, builds a child's self-esteem. By the same token, children with positive self-esteem are more likely to thrive at school and become active learners. So how can parents help? Well, a positive learning environment. We can set the stage by creating a home environment that supports and values learning. This begins very early in life. You were your child's first teacher. You guided, supported, and encouraged her as she learned to walk and talk, catch a ball, do puzzles, and color with crayons. You explained things to her, showed her the world, and read her stories. Even though you have now sent her off to school and that you gave up some of your role to teachers, you can still continue to support your child's learning at home. You can also show interest in their education, attending school events, interacting with the teachers, and providing suitable learning materials in the home and helping with homework. Research has shown that children do better in school when their parents are involved in their education. I had a teacher say to me once, I had gone to pick up the boys after school, they had had badminton practice, and we got into conversation about parenting and that kind of stuff. And he said, from our point of view as teachers, we know we can tell which parents put the effort into the kids. And it was such a simple statement, but had really affected me for a long, long time after that. I never forgot that comment. Talking about school. How can we have more meaningful conversations with our kids about school? Well, here's some suggestions. Watch your timing. We tend to ask about school as soon as our children come home, but that might be the time they want a break from school stuff. It's important to be ready to listen to our kids when they're ready to talk, perhaps as a supper or bedtime conversation. Be specific. Instead of a general question, try asking about specific parts of your child's day. What did you do in phys ed today? Did you give your speech? How did your test go? Ask for detail. Questions that require a one-word answer are not the best way to get a conversation going. It might help to try asking questions that require more of a detailed answer. Talking about grades. How do we react towards good or poor grades? Again, a sensitive response will both nurture self-esteem and encourage continued efforts. If a child brings home a good report card and we say, "What a good girl," the hidden message is that her worth in our eyes depends on her marks in school. However, if we praise her effort and accomplishment instead, it tells her that we admire her achievement, but also that being a good person does not depend on her report card. Remember that some kids find schoolwork easy. Others have to work very hard just to achieve a passing grade. That's why it's so important for us to focus on a child's effort and progress, not just grades. It's all the effort that's being put into it. Some children are more motivated than others, while parental support and talented teaching can encourage motivation. We can't make children want to try hard at school. Children who don't find much satisfaction in school achievement often have other passions, perhaps a hobby, a sport, or a skill that really gives them pleasure and makes them extremely happy. It's important to support these interests too. The learning and self-confidence a child gains from achieving his own goals are not just good for his self-esteem, but often help him do better in school as well. Ups and downs. We place a lot of importance on school, and rightly so. It's a big part of a child's life and one key to their future success. But we need to remember that school isn't everything. It's the only place, it's not the only place that our children learn. And the odd negative experience at school, a bad year or a bad fit with a teacher, this won't ruin a child's life or their self-esteem. When parents communicate well with teachers and support learning in the home, children have the best chance to have a positive educational experience that really contributes to their self-esteem. When self-esteem is challenged by school experiences, like any experience in school, school is a better experience for some children than others. Unfortunately, there are times when school experiences have a negative effect on a child's self-esteem. We can learn from failure, but constant failure is discouraging. Success, on the other hand, boosts our self-esteem and inspires us to try hard in order to experience that success again. Children who are discouraged at school need opportunities for success, both within the classroom and outside of school. When problems at school are caused by learning disabilities, such as ADHD, for an example, it's important to work with appropriate professionals to ensure that your child gets the best possible assistance, support, and treatment. Collaborating with the school. Good communication between home and school allows you to work as a team for your child's benefit. This is especially important when things aren't going well. If you suspect a problem as the parent, you can let the teacher know that you are very concerned without accusing or blaming anyone. Asking for a meeting also gives the teacher a day or two to observe your child more closely and collect her thoughts about how your child is doing at school. This puts both parent and teacher on the road to problem solving instead of confrontation. That's so, so important. We want to be able to work together as teams, regardless of who the other people are that are having that influence in your child's life at any given time. So it's extremely important that we look at that teamwork and we always try to be positive and specific. I can remember when I was growing up, my parents, God bless them, they didn't, I mean, they had their parents to teach them parenting skills. So they would, if I would ask for something and the answer was no, they would just say no. And I can remember growing up thinking, if I ever have to say no to my kids, I'm going to tell them why. And that's something that I've always done. So even in that kind of situation, if you have a child that's asking for something in particular and the answer is no, I think it's only fair that we say no because, and then you give them the reason why. The one thing that it did provide me by giving my kids the explanation, I never got any further conversation on it because it was explained, they understood and they were okay with it. Where I would stand there and fight because I couldn't understand why it was a no. So there's so many different little tricks and little things that we can talk about and share about and go through that. I have a 14-year-old that's scared to ask for extra help. What are some tools to help her out? Okay, well, first of all, ask her if the teacher ever offers to do some help. Ask her if it's something that if she got that information home that you could help her with it. There's also there's a program that we have called Kids Have Stress Too. It's an amazing little program, and I recommend it for all parents. It's really set up for preschoolers, but I find some of the tips and strategies in there can be used for young teens, preteens, and that kind of stuff too. And one of the games that we play in there, that we teach in there, is called the what if game. So where we sit down and we have a conversation, and you could try it differently, like with more, adult questions or whatever. And one of them can be exactly what you just asked me. So in other words, what if you could bring home an animal from the zoo? How would you bring him home? What would he eat? Where would he stay? Would he sleep in a bed? Would he sleep in a hut? Does he sleep in the house? And you have all these different questions and you really get the child thinking and doing some problem solving. But that's the key, is the problem solving. So perhaps if you sat down and had a conversation with her and said, look, I understand that you're nervous to ask for extra help. Do you have some ideas, or do you want to talk it out and look at what are some options that we could try instead of, so that you don't have to be so nervous? Would it help if you and I went in together and we met with the teacher? Would it help if I wrote a note to the teacher? Would it help if you practiced with me, asking me those questions? Do you know exactly what it is that you need help with? Is it something that I can help you with? So sit down and perhaps pose the question to her and see if she can do some problem solving with you. Allow her to do as much of it as she can and try to come up with different scenarios. If she can come up with 2 or 3 or 4, say, okay, well, if you go with that, what could happen? So in other words, if you choose that you say, no, I'm going to ask her myself, or no, I'm going to get you to write a note and to send it to my teacher. Okay, well, if we do that, what could happen? So again, you're getting her to think about, okay, what could be the end result of if we do that, if we go that route? Well, she might ask me why I didn't ask myself. Okay, so what might you answer then in that case? So you want to try to get them to problem solve. So to think through as much of the conversation as what they could possibly create in their minds of what could happen. So it helps prepare them as something to come back with. Hopefully that helps a little bit. Did I understand properly that we should not make a big deal of the child's success? Right. Not the actual success itself, but the effort, the energy, the motivation that was behind it, the commitment that they put into it. That's what you want to be able to congratulate the child on and to reinforce for the child is the effort and all that they put into it. It's great that you passed your test and you got a really good mark, but I was really pleased to see how hard you worked at studying that. You started studying earlier this time. You had me ask you questions, give you little quizzes. I mean, all that effort that you put in, that extra work that you did, really worked well for you. Good job. That's what you want. I mean, we don't want them simply thinking that, okay, getting a good mark on a test is what makes me great. That was the big thing. That's why mommy loves me. No, mommy loves me because I put in all of the effort and I took the time and I did the research and I did what I needed to do to get ready for it. That's what she liked. She liked how much work I put into it. It was great that I got a good mark, but she really liked that part of it. Oh, and all this information comes from the Psychology Foundation of Canada, and they have a program focused on self-esteem, nurturing your school-age child, the Parenting for Life series, and it's a great little series. It's really good stuff. The Psychology Foundation has really good resources. You might want to check them out. They're a Canadian organization, so these are community resources for mental health, that you'll find in your local communities. So your family doctor is definitely one. You have counselors, you have professionals that are out there. So psychiatrists, psychologists that are there to support, spiritual leaders, mentors, friends and family, trusted friends and family, telecare 811. And now we have 211, which provides all kinds of information for us on any services that we may be looking for in the province. We also have all our local addictions and mental health clinics. I think there's 7 of them in the province, I believe. CMHA has a line for anybody in crisis. It's a toll-free number. And of course, the Kids Help Phone. And you guys should, write that down, and maybe the text number, write it down, put it on a piece of paper and put it on the fridge. And, make sure that number is there, that if your kids feel that they need that, then that's an option for them. Sometimes depending on what the issue is, it might be easier talking to a stranger and getting some very good advice, and then trying to get a parent or a relative or somebody else and having advice that might be tainted a little because you love your child so much and you might be trying to fix things for them, and it's not necessarily sometimes what we're trying to do. We really want to try to encourage them to problem solve and to work through obstacles. Building resiliency is so important. I've seen our province, our country become more resilient through COVID. Yes, the illness is there, but we're still being troopers. We're still doing what we need to do. We're taking better health care of ourselves. We're taking self-care has become far more important in people today. There's so many different benefits and good things that are happening as a result of, I know there are stresses. I know there are some negatives to COVID, but there's also a lot of positives too that, are there. But our kids, I know some kids are struggling. So maybe having that Kids Help Phone, like I said, on your fridge with a magnet is just a helpful thing for kids. And of course, there's so much in a texting today that the text number too could be very helpful to them. So there's my contact information. My email address is denise.miller@gnb.ca. And yeah, very happy to be able to help out and answer questions. Okay, well, I guess that's it for tonight. If nobody else has any questions or any conversations or anything, Always a pleasure. I was learning. Yes, I know it's fun to learn all the time. I'm still learning too at my age. So you're very, very welcome. You're very welcome. Everybody, you're all very welcome. I appreciate it. Oh, it looks like I might have a question. How do you have confirmation of our attendance in this meeting? Do we need to send anything? Please send us an email and we will confirm back to you that you were in attendance of the webinar. All right.
Just entered our email addresses again, so it's at the bottom.
Perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, you guys are all very welcome. I'm so glad you attended too. It's a great way, and it's in the comfort of your own home. You make yourself, pour yourself a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, and you sit down and we just have a nice chat. And we have a whole lot more presentations. We've got a lot on our YouTube channel. You can get that right through our website at CMHA New Brunswick, or no, CMHANB.ca. You can go right there, and then you can see past presentations and webinars, and it'll take you right to our YouTube channel. And there's all kinds of topics and all kinds of information there that you're really welcome to go through and take a look at. And great info. Thanks so much. Well, I'm really glad you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much for your time and information. Okay, Alicia, I'm glad you were able to find that. So yeah, always a pleasure. You know, and CMHA, like I said, we're all over the province, so we've got you covered no matter where you're at. So if any of you have any questions, you're looking for information, you can even email Natalie or myself, no matter where you are in the province. We'll put you in touch with the person that's in your area, and they can help you and give you resources, information, whatever it is you're looking for. And if you're looking to stay up to date on upcoming presentations and webinars, again, you can do that through Facebook, our Facebook page, or you can do that right through our CMHANB.ca website. So anyway, hopefully that covers everything. It was a great presentation. It's a great topic, and I think right now it's very, very relevant. I think our children are struggling a little bit with the change. Sometimes I think we're struggling more than the kids are, because I think they're a little bit more resilient than we are. So we can learn from them while they learn from us. And parenting is fun. It's a new day every day. And you wouldn't have done this if you didn't really want to. So let your passion, your love, your kindness, everything, just keep carrying you through, and I think you'll be quite pleased in the kids. I think they're pretty awesome little people today, and the resilience, they're learning it. So anyway, on behalf of Natalie and myself and the CMHA of New Brunswick, we thank you very much for joining us, and till next time, bye for now.